Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now in this game, we're here to push banks as far as we can to get as much money from them as we can. We demand that they make more innovative, more competitive products. Then every so often a bank answers the call and delivers on that. And then eventually down the line, that product gets changed and tweaked and eventually nerfed and sometimes even killed. But is the bank really in the wrong for doing that? And more importantly, are we actually to blame for some of these nerfings? That's what we're going to talk about today. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, of course, it's no secret here that, again, we're into taking as much value and money as we can from banks. It's literally the slogan of the website that we have linked down below for you, profitablecontent.com, making the bank's money become your money. And, for the most part, we do get annoyed when new credit cards come out and they're not very competitive. Oh, cool, another 2% card here, another 1.5x card here. But every so often, products come out and they really are attention grabbing. And then it doesn't seem to last. So a few that come to mind that we'll use, for example, is Bilt Rewards, the first card that could let you pay rent with a credit card and earn 1x back. That's gone through multiple iterations. We know it didn't really work out for Wells Fargo, and it's now on the move to cardless. The Robinhood Gold card, again, that one came out, and it didn't take too long for them to start, saying, hey, no tax payments and things like that. And then Smartly being the one we'll probably use for the biggest example here. U.S. Bank Smartly card to get the 4% back. Lasted about 6 months before they come in and totally gut it. It still exists, but it's a shell of its former self. So the bank answer seems to be that they need to get customers to spend on this 1x category. That's where they make money at, which obviously, right, you can't make a ton of money on handing out 5%. That's why on a lot of the cashback cards, we see them capped at, $1,500, $2,500. And they'll throw other multipliers in there as well. But apparently they really need you to spend on that 1x. And I think we learned a lot from the Chase Sapphire Reserve change we saw a month or two ago, where they hiked the annual fee to about $800. I think it was View from the Wing or OMAT. One of the blogs had it. It was basically like an interview of sorts with Chase, where they basically said, hey, look, enough people weren't spending on the 1x category. People were, doing travel redemptions, doing transfer redemptions, or going through the higher multipliers, but no one was putting 1x on there. So the solution, again, was to lock, the top benefits, what they would call the top benefits, behind $75,000 in spend. Southwest A-List, a Southwest $500 credit through the travel portal, and you get like a shopping credit as well. And, of course, we don't really love that, but now I'm starting to look back on that thinking it might actually not be a terrible solution at all. And let me walk you through how I got to this thought process. So if you take Smartly, for example, which is, again, something I liked, I still have the version 1 of it and use it a lot. What kills these things? Well, it's not all our fault, but for Smartly, being him a 4% card, if you just gave them $100,000, as a bank, we ended up putting in an investment account, which they obviously wanted in deposit accounts. But I don't really think that just paying out large sums of cash back is what killed Smartly. I think what killed it was the fact of how the initial folks used it, like myself. And it's like, yes, you moved over to U.S. Bank, but you were never a real customer. So sure, I opened a checking account, but I did it for a $450 promo offer. And as soon as I got that, I stopped doing my direct deposit over there. And sure, I opened a savings account, but it's only got $10 in it because for whatever reason, U.S. Bank does charge you the monthly fee and they credit it right back to you. So I keep money in there so it never goes negative. So now I've got a checking account with them for $15 for the same reason, savings with 10, and not even all of my IRA in U.S. Bank, just enough to qualify for, the rewards program. And of course, their products are set up where they're not making fees because I have, you have all the products that basically cancel out the fees. There's no trading, no fees on 100 trades. You got the checking account, the credit card makes the checking account free, on and on and on. So what I think killed U.S. Bank's Smartly program was not paying out so much cash back. They had to know it was coming. It was the fact that the people first through the door never really made U.S. Bank their real bank. No direct deposits, no bill pays, no shopping in other products. Credit cards excluded because I'd happily take more credit cards of theirs, but they're not going to give me another Cash Plus anytime soon. And so the point is, we did what we would do normally, which is not against the rules because we're playing the rules exactly how they're laid out. But within 6 months, they could see, hey, this isn't really going to be sustainable, and they had to go ahead and do a massive overhaul. My point being, I would have much rather the bank just come out and say, hey, look, we're going to need you to give us something extra to keep this going, a direct deposit per month, some money in the savings or checking account, what have you. I think that'd be totally fair because I'm still getting something for giving up. Maybe I could get a higher interest rate over here, for example. I'm still getting something that I think is worth it in a 4%. Through the end of July when I'm taping this, I've almost earned $2,000 in cash back. So I think it would be worth it. Someplace we can borrow from, if we want an outside example. Again, we talk, we bring in watches, and you can throw in other things like cars, some certain cars. If you go to an authorized dealer, a lot of times if you're trying to buy a Rolex, an AP, or a Patek watch, a lot of times they'll say, well, hey, you got to start a relationship with us, which really what they're getting at is like, I'm not going to sell you this in-demand watch if you haven't given me anything. So a lot of times you'll see people on the forum say, like, hey, look, I'm going to buy a great watch, an Omega, a Tag, a Tudor, whatever, really good watches, but you can get those for a discount brand new, from a great dealer, but I'll buy them from my watch dealer, my authorized dealer, pay full sticker plus tax. When you buy them from a great dealer, they mail them to you. It's like your responsibility to report taxes, which I'm sure everyone does. But anyhow, I'll take the loss over here on this Tag Heuer Monaco because then I've given you something as a dealer, and then now you'll be more inclined to sell me this Pepsi or this Daytona or whatever I want. I kind of see it as that kind of relationship. When we look at, sometimes people are getting married, like, where am I going to buy my jewelry at? Well, I'll throw this purchase of an engagement ring, 2 wedding bands to my dealer, to my authorized dealer, but like, hey, I want a Daytona in exchange. And they're usually interested in that deal because you just brought me a ton of business and maybe you could have gotten better deals. But the savings you end up getting, like, as the customer who wanted the watch makes up for it. Because again, if you want to go to the gray market, you're paying double on some of these watches. I see it as kind of the same concept there. I understand it doesn't translate a perfect one-to-one to banking. And so I had wished a U.S. bank guys would have just come out and said, like when you walk into an authorized dealer, when I was trying to find a Sea Dweller in 2018, 2019, before it got really bad, I've walked into a few stores and they're like, well, would you like to start a relationship with us? Which is them saying, buy something else, then I'll see what I can do for you. I would much prefer U.S. Bank to come out and say that. The Built Rewards card probably could have come out and said that. Robinhood could have come out and said, we could go through the list. Sapphire Reserve could have come out and said that. And I know, again, they're not really going to do this because it's not. You're talking about a small local business in a jewelry store versus a large multinational bank. They can't really operate choosing customers individually like that, but I think it tracks. So the banking answer to get folks to this 1X credit or this 1X category, because that's what they seem to do, need the spend to be, which is also interesting because with the Chase article we referenced earlier, I kind of thought that sure, no one here would be spending on these 1X categories, but I thought the masses of people actually would be, because if you gave them a nice shiny metal credit card, it's the nicest card, they'll want to use it the most, they won't really care. But apparently that's not the case across the board, and a lot of people weren't doing this. So to get people to this category, and we'll stick with Chase now for the example, is they say, hey, look, of course we're going to hike the fee, we'll add you some credits, of course, but the main thing is if you want these top tier benefits, we're going to lock them behind $75,000 in spend. Like we said, it's the A-list status, it's the $500 Southwest credit, and the shopping portal deal, and then the IHG Diamond, I think it is as well. So you get potentially a good haul, but if it's good or not is up to you, but you get something for that. So back to the Rolex example, we understand that you could be making more in multipliers with this spend. It could be chasing an intro offer, it could be a 4 or 5x category, what have you. If you're smartly, you could be getting, so maybe it's a 3x spread that you're giving up in opportunity cost. We realize that and we appreciate it. So we're going to get you this stuff over here that, again, you could get on your own individually, but because we have the relationships with these companies, Rolex relationship with an authorized dealer, we'll broker that exchange and we'll get it for you. So a lot of times when we talk about it, when we talk about the Sapphire Reserve changes, I've always kind of thought about it as, well, you're just asking me to spend for what? For nothing. But it turns out, no, I do believe they put more thought into trying to get people to this 1X category than I initially gave them credit for. And we know this works because if you look at some of the Hilton cards and even some of the Marriott cards on the Amex side, I believe they have the spend X amount of dollars. It's like a few $1,000s on the card, like by few minutes, like 20. I'll put it on screen for you. But it's one of the deal is you put this extra spend on these Hilton cards, and for each amount of 20, whatever it is, 30,000 to spend, they'll give you one of those free award nights. And the cool part about the Hilton card nights is I believe there's only a handful of places they don't work. You can use them on the weekend. So people will happily shift their tax payments, property tax, income tax payments, what have you, ad spend to these cards for one award night because they can use the value at the Waldorfs or these Ocean Villas or whatever your favorite travel YouTubers are going to and seeing, right? And I like those videos. I do watch them. But the point is, that exchange seems to work because Hilton and Amex have pushed you to the 1X category. They provided you something of value, so much so that they're not even mad about you doing property tax spend at all or income tax spend, both of which have processing fees. And the end user's like, I'll pay the processing fees and give up the spread over here. So I'm still getting so much back in whatever the Hilton points you earn plus the credit. So that's actually a fair trade. Again, I don't care about these things, but it works for people, and that's the equivalent again of buying a tag from your Rolex dealer to get curry favor for a Pepsi or Daytona. The spread, I'm giving up some spread over here, but I can get that Daytona, even if you want to flip it. I mean, they're going for double. Like, you're gonna be okay. And so when we complain about these things sometimes, I really just think it's more so we're just in the wrong place. The thing is not designed for us. Not all the time, but a lot of times. Another example, not a bougie watch or Ferrari example, because I think the same thing happens with cars too. I was at a Whole Foods the other day. I had an Amazon return, and around here is a Whole Foods, and so they're like, hey, take it to Whole Foods, whatever. And it was like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening, like Saturday. I was like, I'll just do a lap because I'm bored, whatever. And they had like pizza in a little food area. I was like, that looks pretty good. Like, the sign says like it's $12 for pizza. I was like, oh, like when you say pizza, that means the whole circular thing. So I'm like, what does that mean? Like $2 a slice? What are we talking here? It's like, no, they mean a slice of, because it was set up cafeteria style, like at your work cafe, you take out a slice, put it in a container. I was like, oh, you want $12 per slice of pizza? One, why are you saying it like that? No one would say that. A pizza is the whole thing. It's like, come on. But anyways, before I was like going to complain about this, I realized like I'm in their store. This is clearly not for me. You can buy a whole pizza for $12, but this is not for the person thinking like that. This is not for the person who's going to go to the local grocery store and get the 2 for $10 DiGiorno frozen pizzas. The person who's going to go to the local pizza chain that has the signs up where I know you can get it because they have them every time you drive by, $12 for like a medium pizza and like a soda or whatever. It's not for me. There's plenty of people around sitting here having food and having a grand old time. So I think it's egregious, but I'm also in the wrong place. This thing just isn't made for me. And I do think that's also part of the thing that upsets us the most is like, originally, Bilt Rewards was when I just had to swipe my card 5 times on Amazon reloads. Well, I mean, that's for everybody, right? Like, that's fine. But then they the revisions, the iterations, granted, we don't know what the iterations are going to be yet at the time of taping, but they're not going to be favorable to people who are doing that. I promise you that much. Then we get mad. The Chase Sapphire Reserve in the portal, again, was a super competitive thing. I used to use the portal, and now it's gone. I mean, it's still there, but they've now, moved it away from just what maybe people like me were doing, and the same thing with Smartly as well. So I guess overall, I submit to you that banks on occasion do make creative, competitive products that we've highlighted here, and then we kind of ruin them. Again, as I said, it's not all of our fault. The economics of these things, I mean, there's a lot that went into Bilt Rewards beyond just people spending on the 1X. There's probably a little bit more that went into Smartly than just people not opening up and using the bank the way they had hoped for. But I guess the question is, thinking of that, if I had to go back and do it, would I, give up some opportunity cost over here and move over and use the product more in line with what the bank was hoping for in exchange for preserving these competitive products that we like so much? And in the case of Smartly, I mean, again, we'd have to see what they needed and what they asked of us. But like, yes, I think I would. And granted, I still have it, but it's not going to last forever. So if they had put a cap on, hey, it's 10 grand a month, I think that's more than fair. I've got enough other cards to support my spend. If it's you got to have a direct deposit every month, so be it. If you have to have a certain amount of money, maybe or they want to raise the relationship tier, or I don't know. Like, I would be willing to consider those things, because if you go back to the watch example again, I think we've done all we could with pizza. But if we go back to the watch example, years and years ago, I remember having the black GMT, the Rolex Explorer, I think having had Daytona at one point, because you could go in the store, try these on, and then go to your local gray or your internet gray and buy them for $2-3 grand less and avoid taxes. And you'd be saving a lot of money. But if I told you years later, in 2025, when you're watching this, which is going to mean nothing to you if you don't like watches, but again, it applies to Ferraris, and I guess that's not super relatable either. Just pick your thing, right? Pokemon cards, whatever it is. Years and years later, now, because you did that so much, well, now you don't have any relationship with these guys. They have no reason to sell this stuff to you. And now the only way to get it is to either not have it or go to the gray market and pay double for it. If I told you that was the future, would you have changed your ways early on? Maybe, maybe not. I think I would have considered it at the least. And so now the relationships we have, or at least they're pushing me towards the 1X, but they are offering us stuff for it. And I think I've been too quick to just dismiss it. Even if I don't like them, and I don't particularly like the Chase, what's behind the $75K in spend. I really think American Express is lazy with the only thing behind to get to guest passes in Centurion Lounge. $75K in spend is just way too much. But again, they're targeting a different customer. And as we said with the pizza example, I'm probably just in the wrong location or the wrong product. Anyways. So I guess I would like to see the thing. Granted, none of this really is going to work in banking. Like, it's not going, we're going to make a concerted effort as a community and change. I don't think that. This is more so a conversation piece than anything else. I'm not saying we actually just start spending on these 1X categories. It's more so a thought piece of like, we do play a part in ruining these products. The bank changes, and the more I think about it, I don't necessarily think they're wrong. When originally I've seen it, I've thought about them two separately, of like, you just want me to spend on this 1X category, but you're not giving me anything for it. But really, they are trying to give me something for it. I do think they could be a little bit better. The Sapphire Reserves case, it was like United status or United Lounge Access or something. I think people would feel a lot differently, let alone if they could throw Hyatt on there. Now, of course, the partner has to want to jump in that as well. Southwest is just having a moment right now where they want to, get more customers and do what everyone else is doing. So I think we get the point there. I'll leave it there. I'll turn it over to you guys. I am interested in your thoughts about how we're ruining banking products, or if you think we are, or by how much. Do you think the bank responses is fair? Do you think the spend requirements are a fair trade? Too much? Offering too little? Too much? No one's going to say too much, but you get the point. I'd love to get your thoughts on all of it down below. So of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel, so we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on Profitable.content.com. As we said, the channel's blogs always linked down below for you. We have the latest news stories if you want to hear about all these changes as they happen. Of course, we have bank promotions and credit card offers. If you want to have some spending, you need to put it somewhere. Check it out. Anyways, guys, that'll do for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you very soon this week.